Okay, it's 13:33 now. So I'm just going to do a quick introduction, just in case there's people that have joined that weren't here last time, and I think there are a couple of you. So the basic premise is every Friday at 13:30, I am doing a session about ocean science for people that are homeschooling, and it's not going to be fitted around the national curriculum. It's not going to be about exam questions and things like that. It's just about the children being able to see a lot of different ocean scientists that study completely different parts of the ocean, right down from the deep sea, which is what I do, right up until the surface oceans, which is what Evie, our guest scientist today, studies. And it's just about seeing how we got into our careers, why we do these careers, and learning really cool facts about the ocean. That's literally all it's for. It's inspirational. We will be teaching science and geography and things like that as well, but it's not aimed to be set up in standard lesson format in the national curriculum. It's just a bit of fun and inspirational, but learning at the same time. So there's a couple of different ways that we set this up. Today we've got a guest scientist, Evie, who I will introduce, and who will introduce herself in a bit. But basically, we're going to have 15 minutes-ish from Evie talking about what she does and all the cool stuff about seagrass. And then we're going to have a question and answer session. And that goes on for as long as you guys are asking questions. So that's all the boring stuff done. All that's left for me to do is introduce Evie. She is a marine biologist at Swansea University. And it is her job. She's on this project called Project Seagrass, where they are planting the first big undersea seagrass meadow in the UK, which is really, really cool. So I won't tell you too much because Evie knows much more than I do. So I'm going to unmute her now, and hopefully that means her face will pop up big when she's talking now. So cheers, everyone.
Okay, that looks like I'm muted. Thank you, Amber. I'm so excited to be joining on this mission to bring oceans into the classroom. It's really cool. So I'm Evie Furness, and like Amber said, I'm a marine biologist down in Swansea University in Wales. And I think I've got the best job in the world, basically. So why? Well, whilst at work, I've got to swim with dolphins. I've got to play with seals like my friend Chonka here. I've seen sunfish, which are like these huge flat fish. They're like this kind of size, this round flat disc, and they've just got this funny flappy fin at the top. So like all these crazy things I've seen at sea. A lot of you will have seen your parents working from home at the moment. You will have seen them just sat at a laptop and things like that. Well, my office is a little bit different. My office tends to be out on a boat where maybe the sea's really choppy and all I'm trying to do is keep the boat the right way up. Or maybe I'm on the side of the boat and I'm rolling off backwards with some scuba diving gear on. So I've got a nice like snorkel and mask here, like this. So this mask means I can see underwater and I can do some breathing too. So I'm ready to go. And I basically spend my working day looking at life under the sea. So my job isn't necessarily glamorous, however. It does mean that sometimes maybe it'll be about 3 in the morning. So when you guys are all tucked up in your duvets, you're nice and happy in your bed, I'll be out on a beach and maybe it's raining, it's cold. I've done it in hail before, and I'll be on a beach doing a seagrass survey at 3 in the morning, definitely sleeping time. So what I'm doing as a marine biologist right now is I'm working on this really cool project that Amber introduced a minute ago of trying to replant a seagrass meadow. And we're doing this alongside WWF, the ones with the like funny little panda symbol, and Sky Ocean Rescue, which is really, really cool. And it's the first ever restoration project in the UK of seagrass. So what is seagrass? Why care about it? So this is my seagrass meadow. And you can see it looks exactly like the grass in your garden. It's got these long leaves, it's got roots that are going down into the seabed. It's the only plant that can survive in the sea. And just like plants on land, it doesn't go to the cupboard for its dinner. It doesn't just have a nice chocolate bar. It's got this light coming down through the sea, and it takes up this light with some carbon dioxide, which is a thing that's in the air, it's a type of gas in the air, and it mushes it all up, and that's how it gets its food. And that's really important in a fight against climate change. But while it's doing this mushing up and it's making its food, it's also letting out oxygen, and oxygen is the thing that we breathe, that we need to live. So do you think you can all take 3 deep breaths with me now? Can we do 1 deep breath in? And 2, 3. So 2 of those breaths will have come from the sea, which means that 2 of those breaths, quite likely, seagrass will have helped to provide you. So that's pretty cool. The reason to have seagrass around, straight there. It also, I want you to all try and imagine roses, but underwater. Can you imagine seeing like a flower underwater? Because seagrass has these nice big flowers underwater. Can you all try and put your hands in the air now? Do you think anyone? And wave around. And you are creating the most amazing seagrass meadow right now, looking really, really good. Your arms are like the leaves flapping around everywhere. And if I was a fish, this looks like the perfect place to go and hide in. All those leaves swooshing around everywhere means that the fish have lots of spaces to go and get in between and hide. And they can hide from bigger fish that might want to eat them for their tea, or people like my friend Bruce here, my big shark. He likes to eat fish in the seagrass meadow, but our seagrass means that they can hide a bit better. And there's also loads and loads of food in the seagrass meadow. So all these baby fish, they can hide and they can get strong and big with lots of food in their belly, which means that we get nice big fish and chips on a Friday and things like that. So I'm gonna set you a little challenge now. I'm gonna share my screen, and I want you, there should be a video coming up that as marine biologists, we need to know how healthy our oceans are. And one of the ways we do that is we swim to the bottom of the sea and we try to count how many different fish and how many different types of fish are in that part of the sea. So this is a really nice seagrass meadow, and I'm going to play a video, and I want you to all try and count how many fish and how many different types of fish. And if you're feeling really brave, I want you to try and hold your breath like you've swam to the bottom of the ocean. So big breath in, and I'll start the video. It's quite hard to hold your breath for that long. It's really tricky. Put your hands up if you managed it. Oh, there's a few of you got around. Good. Got some marine biologists in the making. I like it. I think there was about 37 fish in that video and about 6 different types. So maybe you can let me know at the end if you feel the same, or maybe you thought completely different. But I just wanted to give you a taste of how hard it is to get an accurate count, an accurate idea of what's going on in our seas. Because not only would we have been holding our breath, we would have had the ocean rocking us around, and those fish were going in and out of shot all the time. It was quite tricky. So we've got more than fish in our seagrass meadow. We've got things like seahorses, which have this long curly tail that they like to wrap around the leaves. And whilst they've got their tail wrapped around this leaf, it means that they don't just float off with the current. They can be really lazy and just stay in one place, which is great for them. We've also got some really other cool animals, and this is one of my favourites. This is my green turtle, Nigel. He loves eating seagrass, absolutely loves it. Loves it so much that I think he's still quite young, but if he was an adult green sea turtle, he could munch through, on average, about 3 kilos every day. So maybe as another little challenge, after this session, you can go and look around your house and try and find something that's about 3 kilos. So my best thing that I've found is 6 tins of baked beans, and try and pick all of those up in one go. And then pick maybe 1 blade of grass and how light that is, and try and imagine how much grass you'd need to weigh the same as those tins of baked beans, or whatever 3 kilo thing you can find. So I want you to all just close your eyes and try and imagine that you've gone into the next room and there's a big hole in your ceiling and the rain's coming in pretty hard on a happy sunny day like today, but it's cold and it's windy and half of your house has been squished. So all of you, your family, your grandmas, your aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone is living in one teeny little room. And it's about dinner time, so you're going to turn to your mum and go, "Mum, what food have we got? What's for dinner?" And she just says, "No, we've got nothing in the fridge, no food." Give me a big nod if you think that would be nice, or a big shake of the head if you think it'd be horrible. No? I think it would be horrible, really, really horrible. And that's exactly what's kind of happening to the animals in our sea. They're losing all that big, nice places to play and all the different food that they need. They don't feel very safe. And so that's why I'm working with Seagrass to get this seagrass meadow up and going, so that they've got more space to play, more food to eat, and they're going to be feeling pretty good out in the sea. So we've got a nice home for them. So that's why we're trying to replant this seagrass meadow. In the UK alone, in the last 100 years, we've lost about 92% of our seagrass meadows, which looks a little something like this. If you can see, there's just a little patch of yellow at the bottom corner down here. That's pretty much all we've got left that we've lost in the last 100 years. So it's really important that we keep trying to replant it and look after it. So how do you replant seagrass? How do you be an underwater gardener? Well, we wear that scuba diving gear again, and we get a load of bubbles going everywhere as we're underwater, picking away. So we're picking seagrass seeds just like this. You'll see a hand come in. There we go. He's picking some seagrass seeds. So the seeds are just like peas in a pod on the end of each of these leaves. And we had to pick 1 million of these seeds. So we were underwater picking away for quite a long time. And then once we'd picked all these seeds, they all needed a little home. And so they were in these small little bags that were filled with sand from kids all over the country. They were incredible at doing this. And these bags mean that shore crabs can't just come along and have a big old feast on all the seeds. They protected a little bit. And then we went back out to sea, and you can see my colleague here lowering these little homes over the side of a boat out on a really nice, beautiful day where the seeds can start growing and getting strong and making a new home for all those fish over in West Wales. But it's not just replanting that we need to do. We need to do a bit more. There's things that you guys at home can get involved with, you can try and do. So you can try and eat less meat. You can try to reuse things as much as possible. So maybe there's a toy that you're not using anymore. You could give it to your friend who might want it, or you could give it to charity instead of chucking it away. We've got loads of different activities that you can try on Project Seagrass, on the Project Seagrass website. So I'll chuck a link in the Facebook event at the end. But we've also got something really exciting. We've got a chance to get some prizes, get some goodies. So we've got a big art competition going on. So maybe this afternoon you could try and make your very own seagrass picture out of anything that you've got in the house. And I'll put more details on how to do that on the Facebook event, but whatever seagrass scene you want to make. So I'm hoping that some of you guys have got a few questions now. I think Amber's going to take charge of that.
Yep, I will take charge of the session. Can you wave if you can hear me? Okay, and wave if you thought that was a great talk about seagrass. Yeah. So thank you so much, Evie. That was so interesting. I love seagrass, and I actually don't know much about it other than what it looks like. So I found that really, really interesting, and I found it really cool how you had those pictures behind you. I need to learn how to do that. Now it's time for you guys to ask questions. So you can remember the two ways that you ask questions. One is you go down to the bottom and you put your hand up in the session that says that, and the other one is you go into the group chat and you can ask the question in there. So I'll just have a look and see if we've got hands up yet. So hands up, you go on the three little dots at the bottom and click more, and then there's a bit that says raise your hand. I'm not actually sure how you do it on the laptop. Let's have a look and see if I can find it. Can't quite see. Someone's clearly worked it out. We've got some questions coming through. Okay, so first of all, we've got the account from someone called Tamsin. So I think that might be Ethan, I think, who was with us last week. Yeah, he's smiling, so I think that's him. So I will unmute you and you can ask your question to Evie now.
How quickly does seagrass grow?
So it grows pretty quickly, actually. We had a bit of a problem with it just wanting to grow too quickly. When we'd picked all those seeds, we took it back to our laboratory in Swansea University, and it just wanted to grow and grow and grow.
So we just started growing?
Yeah, exactly. So just the seeds just wanted to be a little baby seagrass straight away. So we're hoping that the seagrass seeds that we planted last month will already be little seedlings, so little plants about this size, hopefully.
Ah, is that all your question there, Ethan?
Yeah.
Cool. Right.
That's a good one.
Okay, next we've got, I think this might be Billy, Tom and Ted, because they're just called iPad, and I know they were called iPad. So iPad, ask your question.
How long can seagrass grow?
How tall? How tall can it grow? Oh, another really good question. So in the UK, it tends to be max of about 70 centimetres, so about that size. But if you go abroad, I think the longest piece of seagrass is actually nearly about 10.7 metres in Japan.
Wow.
So pretty huge. That's got to be onto house sort of size.
That's crazy. What, so seagrass grows to the height of a house?
Yeah, pretty much.
Were you expecting that answer, boys?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, next up we've got the person, it's called Amelia on the account, so I'm going to unmute you now.
What's the biggest fish in the sea meadow?
Ah.
Oh, that's a good one. So we have some really big fish. In fact, we've got some groupers which can get, how big's a grouper? It's kind of that sort of size, definitely bigger than me swimming around, because it's got all those little fish in there that it's like, they look quite tasty. And we also get some sharks that love to live in our seagrass meadow. And there's one shark, a bonnethead shark, that doesn't just eat fish, it likes to eat seagrass too. So it makes sure it eats its greens with its dinner.
Shark.
Thank you.
That's okay.
Amelia. Okay, next we've got Carly's iPad. I will unmute you now.
Hello.
Hi, girls.
Hi. So we wondered if all the oceans had seagrass in them. You might have said this, but I might have missed it.
No, I didn't actually say it. So every continent except Antarctica has seagrass. So it can grow pretty much everywhere, apart from if it gets too cold down in Antarctica. And it's loads of different types of seagrass too. So I might still have a picture where, I know it's gone. It can look like the long grass ones that I just showed you from the UK, but it also can look like little clover leaves, so small circular kind of leaves, or like almost like little ferns kind of spreading out like this. So there's loads of different varieties of seagrass all over the world, which is really cool.
Amazing, thank you.
Hi, am I allowed to ask a question, Evie?
Of course you are.
Okay, I want to know, what's the thing, or what are the things in the UK that are meaning that we're losing seagrass the most? I know you said climate change, but are there other things that we're doing as humans that means that seagrass is getting damaged, so that maybe when we go out, that we're not hurting too much seagrass?
So a really big thing in the UK and globally actually is the water quality. So when we are putting stuff down our drains at home, or if there's a big farm next to the seaside, then everything that goes on in that farm or everything that goes on in our house runs off and down and into the sea, and that's going to hurt our seas. So big thing for us is that when you get too much nutrients, so like lots of goodness in the sea, then that gives lots and lots for seaweed to eat, which means it grows really, really quickly, much quicker than our seagrass. And it can form like a blanket over the top of the seagrass meadow, which stops the light getting down to the seagrass, so it can't actually grow anymore because there's just too much algae over the top of it. That makes sense?
Yeah, we need to be careful what we're putting down our drains and things like that, and not littering and things like that.
Definitely. So everything kind of ends up in the sea.
We can all do that. That's good. So we can do that. Okay, we've got a question in the chat here from Lorna and Amelia. How many? Very, very big question for you to answer here. How many fish live in seagrass?
Loads and loads and loads. So for around the UK coastline, if you've got a patch of just sand, just bare sand, and then you go across to a patch of grass, then there's about 30 times more fish in the grass than there will be on the bare sand. So loads and loads more fish. And also so 1 in every 5 different types of fish that we like to eat all over the world. So all the odd species that they live in exotic places, eat in exotic places as well. 1 in every 5 of those will be from a seagrass meadow. So I can't say an exact number of how many, but a lot.
Is that answer of lots good enough, Lorna and Amelia? I hope so, because I mean, otherwise we're asking Evie, you know, count every single fish from all but 1 continent in the entire world that might live in seagrass, which I think the answer of lots probably covers it. So good question, well done. Okay, then we've only got 1 more question left now. So if anyone else has got any more questions, now is the time to put your hand up or send it in the chat. If you have got your video on but you're struggling to either work out how to use the chat or the put your hand up thing, I've got a few people's videos up. Try and wave at me, like physically, like this, if you don't know how to ask the question in that way. No one's frantically waving at me, so it looks like everyone's... Oh, okay, we've got one person that is waving, so I will turn their microphone on now. Okay, I'm turning your microphone on, so you should be able to answer the question, Roger. Ask the question, Roger. Is that all right?
Fine. Thank you very much, and thank you, Evie. We're interested in South Sky Seas. We're doing our project currently over the next few years, and we're particularly interested in the planting of seagrass. Is there a paper that we could have that would explain all the protocols, time of year to collect the seed, and then the little Hessian sacs described, and how the seeds actually get back out through the weave of the little sacs?
Yeah, there is. Is there a way to, if you can, are you on social media at all? Because I can link it across to you.
Eileen, who's just 2 over from me, I think you may well have been in touch with Eileen. If there's anything to be sent, you could send it to Eileen, and she'll be able to distribute it to the rest of the team.
Is that Eileen Armstrong?
Yeah.
Eileen Armstrong, that's right.
Okay, Eileen, what I'll do is I'll try and find one of you one of you must have seen it in the Facebook group, I'm guessing. So
I've got Eileen's email, so I will.
That's the one. That would be ideal. Because we have some seagrass beds.
You do. I've been up and seen them, and they are gorgeous.
Oh no,
I ended up playing with otters in them.
That's right, indeed. Well, we found quite a lot more.
Oh, amazing! Really,
and some really quite large beds.
Oh, really cool.
There's one bed particular that's distressed at the one end of it.
Mm-hmm.
There's brown algae growing on the substrate, and then as you progress through the seagrass bed, it becomes better and better. And we think there's been some sort of pollution event that we think probably won't happen again. And we're wondering whether it would be suitable for replanting with the brown algae still in place.
It sounds it would need a little bit of looking into to make sure that pollution wasn't still ongoing. There wasn't some kind of output or a fish farm that was caught in the currents of it or something like that. But it sounds like it's got a lot of potential, especially if it's already in the area with a good thick meadow. Yeah. That's really cool. I'll get in touch with you.
No, that would be good. Well, if you do that through Eileen will be able to distribute it for us, which would be really good.
So Eileen's showing one of our posters, which is so lovely.
Oh, that's good. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Evie.
Thank you.
By the way, we had sunfish reported in Loch Scavig.
Amazing.
Yeah.
They're so cool, so bizarre.
Yeah, we didn't see it, but we had pretty well everything else that we would expect to see. Which is really good. Thank you.
Very jealous of you up there.
Question, Roger, and that's great that today's meant that you guys are connected, and we can, you're going to plant even more seagrass meadows. So that's great. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Okay, we've got another question from Ethan, I think. So I'm unmuting you now.
How deep can the seagrass grow, as in how much pressure can it stand?
Ooh.
Oh, okay. So seagrass is okay with pressure. Pressure is fine for our seagrass. But the thing that limits it is the light, because it needs light from the sun.
Oh yeah, because plants need light to grow.
Yeah, perfect. So in the UK, we'll find seagrass meadows up to about 10 metres down in the sea. So still quite deep.
That's deeper than I can dive.
It's very deep, isn't it? I couldn't just swim down that far. But if you go to like the Mediterranean, then the water there is really clear. So you can see for ages and ages, which means the light is getting really far. So the seagrass can grow down to 70 metres.
So if seagrass grows the highest in Japan, that means there's lots of sunlight there?
Yeah, so they've got really good clear water. That means that the sunlight can get through and help it grow. That's really good.
So Ethan last week told us that he wants to be a marine biologist now. So, I mean, I think these questions show that he'll be pretty good, don't you, Evie?
Yeah, I think you've got a career in the making there. Come join us out on boats.
Great questions. Thanks, Ethan. And then finally, we've got one question. I'm unmuting you now. I think it's Eileen.
Yeah. Hi, Evie. Nice to see you again.
You too.
Evie came up to our Loch Salad in South Skye, and she came up, oh gosh, about 3 years ago now, Evie? 3-4 years ago?
Yeah, it was about that.
Horrible, cold, grey, windy weather. I remember you. I felt so sorry. Anyway, Evie, it was when we were first starting off, and Evie came and she did a project for us, and she wrote a paper. And Evie, I want to say to you that the basis of that work has enabled us to carry on ours. So it's been fantastic, really. And
that's so awesome to hear.
Yeah, and we want you to come back up again.
Oh, I would absolutely love to. I'd be there in a heartbeat. It's gorgeous up there.
One thing I'd like to ask you, I do remember the kit you had for your underwater camera, your drop-down camera. I'd like to get out into the seagrass bed in Ord Bay, which I know that you looked at, but it wasn't very successful because there was a lot of sediment churned up. But I bumped into a guy who was on the beach who used to swim there when he was a little boy, and he said he used to see seahorses there.
Oh,
so,
gorgeous.
I know. So I'm just wondering if they might still be out there. So I'd like to get my hands on similar kit that you use that we could drop down. So maybe you could give us that information, how we could get that, you know, later on. So, yeah.
So we just used really basic GoPros. So if ever on GoPro, it's just like these underwater cameras. And we made like these little structures about this sort of height, a metal kind of triangle frame that we could put the GoPro on the top and then lower it over the side of the boat. And it meant you could record all the fish that were there without scaring them off by us swimming in. So it's a really good, really easy way to get a lot of information about what's in the seagrass meadow. So yeah, Eileen, I can definitely get you some more details on those as well.
That's great. When we were talking, I was just thinking it's great to see all the kids so interested in all of this. It's, you know, it's amazing for them because they don't know it's there until you tell them, and it's super. But one thing I think, if anybody's got any boats or whatever for dropping anchors, because that's another thing that I get quite upset about. Sometimes we have boats coming into the bay and I say, no, you can't drop your anchor there because they're right on top of the seagrass bed. So that's something else that if you know anyone who has a boat, you know, to make them aware of that. So, but it's great, and it's good to see that you're still involved in the project.
Very much so. But yeah, that is so key that when you drop those anchors into seagrass meadows, it rips big holes out of the meadows, which just damages it and it allows more water to come through, ripping it up further. But also, if you're driving a boat really fast over a seagrass meadow, then the propeller on the boat just acts like a lawnmower and you just cut big holes in it. So if anyone knows people with boats, then that's a really good thing to warn them about. Thank you, Eileen. Really good.
There you go, guys. So that's really great now. You can go around and tell everyone you know with a boat to be really careful that they don't put anchors down in the seagrass meadows. I've seen seagrass in Bermuda before, actually, and we went in an area that was quite badly destroyed by people putting anchors down. But what they had were these eco moorings, and so they had like a piece of concrete on the sea floor, and then they had a chain coming up to the top of the sea, and then people would just hook their boat to that instead, so that they weren't putting another anchor down every single time and destroying all the seagrass. So, you know, it's great. There's lots of ways that we can still enjoy all the activities that we want to do in the ocean, but just, you know, not destroy everything in it, which is always a bonus, I think. You know, I think most of us will be environmentally conscious here, and, you know, that's always a great thing to do. And, you know, if any of your parents have got a boat as well, it's always great to tell your parents off for something as well. And make sure you tell them if they're being naughty and putting their anchors of their boats in seagrass. So I think we've had all of our questions now. You guys have been asking questions for like 35 minutes, 30 minutes. So, you know, that's pretty good going. Well done, everyone. So unless anyone has any last minute questions for Evie, I'll give you 5 seconds to put your hand up or type a question. 5, 4, 3, 2.5, 1. Okay, we're good. I'm going to unmute you all now so that you can say thank you to Evie.
Thank you. We have counted more than 30 people here at Swansea at the moment. We've spoken to one couple who are here
Fabulous. So I'm
who are NHS members of staff. They work at local.
Next week, we've got, I think, somebody coming in and talking about deep sea microbes, so bacteria that are really cool and live in extreme environments, but I'm just getting that confirmed for you. I've also got some people lined up to talk to you about whales and dolphins. I've got someone lined up to talk to you about seals. Someone else who lives in the Bahamas and is going to take you, hopefully, Wi-Fi and internet permitting. He's going to show you around their outside coral reef lab, so you can actually, you know, see some stuff outside, because none of us can go outside at the minute. So he's going to take you around the research lab there. So we've got all sorts of cool stuff lined up. But yeah, thank you so much, Evie, as our first guest. I hope you had fun too. And we will see you all next week, same time. Bye, everyone.
Thank you all for coming. Bye.